The first batch of fabric is here, you guys. It came out so good. I'm so excited. Look at all these beautiful colors. I've already been sewing like a crazy person. Welcome back to the chaos. Honestly, it's been kind of a crazy couple of weeks between some minor explosions behind the scenes with one of my client jobs, looking at houses, not getting houses, and being kind of disappointed and frustrated with the whole state of real estate at the moment. Some really good times with friends locally in our little COVID bubble, and having some good meals and good hangout time and campfire. Got my second COVID vaccine shot. Woo! And it did knock me out a little bit. Had a little bit of a fever. Had some extra sleepiness. Really sore arm. But otherwise, like, not as bad as it could have been. And still so much better than actually getting COVID. Thanks. So it's been pretty busy. And the fabric arrived, which is amazing, and I'm so glad that I had pre-cut out all of the black fabric that was already here, just because that cut down so much on the time needed to actually get to sewing, because I was able to just start cutting the last pieces of garments immediately and start getting them on the sewing machine. So I thought it might be fun for you guys to see a little behind the scenes again of Limitless, and watch me working on one of the Nebula scarves, which is a hooded infinity scarf with an invisible pocket. Yeah, so it's just me in my sewing space working on that, and you get to see some glimpses of some of the beautiful, beautiful fabric that's arrived now. So enjoy! I am so glad I cut all the black pieces out in advance. It just made things go so much quicker. So I had, each scarf is made of 4 pieces, 2 of the black and 2 of the printed fabric. So obviously first step is to pin the 2 black pieces together to make them into one long scarf piece. And I promise you don't get to just watch 20 hours of me pinning. This fabric moves around so much, you guys. That is a problem with working with knits, is trying to get it to stay still is kind of a nightmare. So then again, I am just taking the 2 black pieces and sewing them together, giving them a seam. This is basically where the hood of the Nebula scarf goes. So I'm sewing the hood on that, and then I will basically do that for the black piece and then do that for the printed fabric. So this is just you guys getting to see me in my natural habitat of my creative studio space, which is really coming together. So I should give you guys another real tour of it soon, except that right now it is literally covered in pieces of cutout fabric and partially sewn garments. So maybe not the prettiest thing right now. But yeah, so just sewing away at the black fabric, and then as soon as that's done, taking it off the sewing machine and flipping over to the printed fabric, doing the same thing, sewing, you know, the 2 halves of that piece together to make one long scarf piece with a hood. Because basically it's fully reversible, so there's an inside and an outside. So I'm duplicating the same thing on the 2 fabrics and then have to marry them together, basically. And this is why I only do some behind-the-scenes videos and not full progress on these, because honestly, a lot of it is sewing in really long straight lines with a few curved lines, and then lather, rinse, repeat. I'm doing a lot of the same things over and over again, so it's probably not very exciting to just watch me feed things through the sewing machine. So hopefully this is sort of interesting to you guys, and not too boring. So now that we have the printed side and the black side sewn to themselves, now it's time to match them up together. So we have that inside and the outside together. So I have to, of course, put them together inside out, or right sides together. so that then once all the seams are done and cleaned up, I can flip it right side out and you guys don't see all the jagged edges or even the cleaner edges, but you don't see all the stitching. It'll all be inside the garment. And other than the hood, this garment really, really is just like a giant tube. So it is one of the easier garments, in as much as working with knits is ever easy, because like I said, the fabric likes to move around a lot, so getting things to line up, even if you cut exactly and measure exactly, you can see I just keep having to smooth again and again as I pin, because that fabric just kind of wants to slip around on itself and not stay where it's supposed to. So literally, like I said, it's just pinning all of the front and the back together and the inside and the outside together. And then came time to put in the hidden pocket, which does have a zipper, so it is secure. And let me tell you guys, someday I will tell you the saga of me and zippers, but we are not particularly good friends. But I'm putting zippers in these because I wanted it to be a secure pocket, and I didn't really want to have to deal with like Velcro and snaps and things like that. So a zipper seemed the easiest way, but we're definitely having a little bit of a fight. So I spared you the placement and replacement of this, but needless to say, Zippers and I, not the closest friends. Our relationship is better than it used to be, but it's still a struggle. But I wanted these pockets to be super secure. Once we have the pockets all installed, then again, it is matching up the two inside and the outside. Again, like I said, it's like a reverse tube. So it's just lining up the pocket squares, because you basically have two squares on each side of the zipper that aren't connected to each other. So if I flip the garment inside out right now, you'd unzip the zipper and your hand would just go into the lining because the zipper or the pocket isn't sewn into a square. So this is me pinning all that together, pinning the pocket to itself to actually create a functional pocket. And then finishing up the rest of the seam on that side. So again, you have one giant tube. Again, at this point, I am literally just pinning up the last bits of exposed seam to close off the tube, other than the ends, because one thing about working with any kind of garment like this, where you're making it inside out all the way, and it's double-sided like this, is you have to make sure you leave a place to flip it right side out. So you can't sew all the edges, or you just have an inside-out garment that you can't flip over. So then it's just a matter of sewing everything I've pinned, just sewing this giant tube and all the hood pieces together, making sure the pocket doesn't get caught in the seams so that when it opens it actually works as a pocket. Oh no, out of thread. What's happening? No. I hate when I don't notice I run out of bobbin thread.
Oh no, that's the worst.
So I ran out of bobbin thread, had to pull that out, and rewind the bobbin. This is the worst thing ever, when you're halfway through a seam, you're maybe even almost done, and then you realize you've been sewing for inches and inches and inches with no bottom thread. So then, of course, just winding a new bobbin so that I can keep going. Now that I have a nice full bobbin of thread, I'm going to rethread my machine and keep going. once the seams are all sewn, honestly, I had a bit of excess fabric in this one, so I just wanted to trim it. And I trimmed a little ways before I was like, why am I using my giant monster scissors? I have these much more reasonable size shears. I have these big industrial shears that I can use for when I'm cutting out the giant pieces of fabric or multiple layers of fabric. But for doing something like just cutting some excess off the edges of seams, there's no reason to use those giant things. As soon as I get this all trimmed, I'm flipping it right side out. And here it is. Look at that beautiful fabric. And look, it's a pocket! It works! It has a zipper! It's a real pocket! Gasp! You know, we're not great friends, but we have a functional relationship. So at this point, it's almost completely sewn together, except for this lovely little opening here. I'm gonna have to sew the edges together so that our tube is closed and not dangling open. So do that one side at a time. So I sewed the green fabric together first to itself to kind of close that loop, and then I'll cover it with the black fabric and sew a decorative seam over it. It's not a very good explanation, I'm sorry. But, you know, really it's just like I said, it's like I left it open so that I could flip it right side out, and then once that's done, you have to sew up those edges and close up the garment so it doesn't have a big awkward hole in it where you can see all the insides. And then I ran out of top thread, because apparently this was just running out of thread time. Thankfully, I have plenty more black thread, because that's almost all I ever use. So after another momentary pause to re-thread my machine from the top this time, I could continue sewing. So this is where I am trying to fold the black fabric, cutting off the excess, and closing it up on that side so that everything matches and everything looks nice. So you're really just sort of folding it in on itself to make a nice clean edge. Yeah, as you can see now, I'm pinning it all the way through to the green layer, matching the seams, so again, that they'll line up and match. Except, didn't quite match as much as I thought. Okay, now that I fixed it, here is the finished garment, other than some thread trimming, and I still need to give it one good press, but it's basically all the actual sewing is done. There's the pocket in place. I left it partially open just so you could see it. And now you're gonna have to forgive what an idiot I look like putting a hood on over another hood, but I just wanted to put it on and kind of show it off. Infinity scarf with a hood. And a secret pocket with a zipper. Ta-da! It's a pocket! And, of course, it's reversible. So if you don't want to have the bright fabric on the outside, you just have the black side out, and then the green just sort of flashes as an accent. Super fun. Wear it either way. Still a functional pocket, either way. Still a functional hood, either way. There it is. A finished Nebula scarf. Now I've only got like 20 more of these to sew. And a bunch of other garments. And that's it, a finished Nebula scarf. I am busting through sewing a bunch of scarves, skirts, tunics, robes, everything for my amazing Kickstarter backers. So if you are one of them, you will start seeing shipments in your mailboxes soon. Thank you for your patience, because as you know, this is a solo business. It is me, myself, and I doing all of the cutting and sewing and packaging. So thank you for supporting me and bearing with me. For everyone else, there are items available for pre-order on my website, and there will be some more ready-made items soon going up on my Facebook and the website as soon as all those Kickstarter rewards are in the mail. And as vaccines continue to roll out, I am hearing murmurings of a few shows talking about starting back up later in the year, some local markets and street fairs coming back in a slightly reduced capacity. And as those happen, I will start getting out there with my clothing so you can come see me in person and see the clothes in person. And I am super excited for you guys all to get to see this. If you're enjoying what I'm doing here and all the chaos, please consider hitting that like button, subscribe to follow my channel, and hit that notifications button to make sure you get notified when I upload new videos. I currently upload every other Monday. And I will see you all in 2 weeks. Bye, guys.